All right, hey everyone. It's kind of early on Saturday, so still kind of tired. So if my voice dips here and there, I apologize. I am Omega Zero.
Oh yeah.
I am Omega Zero,
I am late night CJ, aka Sweet Daddy in the streets.
and this is going to be our recording of our rewatching of the Hunger Games, or
Yes, sir.
my rewatching of it, and late night CJ's
First watch.
first watch. So I guess I should ask this: what do you think of the movie overall?
Okay. Now, I
We'll-
think
we'll get into a review later, but
no, that's what I'm gonna do.
Right.
Okay. Just like with when we did Mortal Kombat, this is similar in a sense of the reviewing process. Is that you have the background of it, both through the book and the previous history, and it's all also just a first watch for me. So it's more fresh for me. We get two different perspectives on it. With that being said, loved it.
You loved it?
Loved it. I went into it with a clear, because for y'all that don't know, I'm a man of a certain age, and I've developed the ability to go into situations unbiased. And so I went in there not thinking like, oh, this is a kiddie movie, or oh, this is an old movie, or this is some fantasy junk. No, I just went in there like, okay, I'm gonna watch the movie. And I will say, before we get into the review, I'll just give it a gut punch number. Out of 10, I give it a solid 8. A solid 8. Now, it's starting to develop a little anxiety in me because this is my bias coming in right here. I'm not a fan of multiple sequels, so I'm kind of like okay, I like this first one so much. Please don't ruin it for me. Not you, but just them doing the money grab, finger quotes. You know, the money grab movies, and it's just like, I loved it. I gave it a solid 8.
Yeah, I agree with Late Night CJ there pretty much. Since I still remembered a lot of the stuff from the books, apparently, because that stuff just really doesn't go away. I noticed like a few little things where I'm like, all right, yeah, if they probably put some of those things in there, I'm like, oh yeah, this movie probably could have been a little better or slightly more horrifying. But we'll get into that in a little bit. But I agree overall, pretty much like solid 8 out of 10. If there's very little that they could have really changed because it was pretty much directly from the book. Like the only exception really being like they can't do inner monologues in movies because it seems very jarring in movies in comparison.
Takes too much time.
Yeah,
It might not add anything into the pace of the story.
yeah, but overall, yeah, those are our quick real thoughts on it. But I guess we can really go into the review of the movie now.
Let's go.
Alright, so overall with this movie, like with the spoilers and all that, I feel like this movie does a pretty good job of just kind of like explaining the world of Panem, like post, I guess you could say, apocalypse, because I don't think they really explain what really happened.
But I'll tell you what though, if you pay attention, a lot of the stuff, this movie came out like what,
2012.
Yeah, 2012, okay. A lot of the stuff, it's like that movie Zootopia, how there's this underlying thing of what actually is happening in society today, but they just kind of, it's almost satirical in a sense because they're on this, like, it's like this planet, people are controlling it, and it's like they got blue hair and everything, so and funny hairstyles and mustaches and everything, so you're distracted by that. But there's a undertone that's like, yo, a lot of this happens today, like how the poor people don't have the resources. Like the resources was training and how to, the different disciplines of fighting and weaponry and stuff like that. But the poor people survive more off instinct, and they almost don't even look forward to certain things in life, while other people that have the resources, they can't wait to be put into that position.
Yeah, like that's you could probably say at the time though, maybe it was intentional, maybe it was just pure coincidence. I don't know. I haven't asked the author.
Could be.
It could be. Like you could see it like near the end with Kato. It's like, oh yeah, I was training my whole life for this, and you can see him and his little group of careers. Like, oh yeah, yeah. They were like laughing and joking up. I'm like, oh, we jokingly said me and my little brothers. They were like, oh yeah, these guys are psychopaths. It just wasn't near until the end. He's like, oh my gosh, like reality just came and gave him the worst uppercut of his life.
Well, I've trained my whole life potentially just to die for people's enjoyment.
And he's like,
just to be for your viewing pleasure.
And he's like, oh, I didn't realize it. He's like, I was already dead. I always have been.
Yeah.
Just not until now.
I never even got to live a real life. I lived my life training and preparing to be a killer or be killed. And wanted to jump to the front of the line to be able to do this while the other people get selected.
They're
like, dang, I guess my time is up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the odds ain't in my favor. You mean only 1 in 70-something years made it out alive?
Like, it's the one we see in the movie is the 74th one.
Yes.
And with the earlier ones, we had like a little mini argument with my mom over this, where it's like, oh yeah, someone most likely just waited out the movies, waited out everyone else, like starvation or hunger. It's like, oh no, that wouldn't be good TV. I'm like, in the earlier ones, it might have worked out because they were like, they didn't have an idea on what they're going on. They figure out you can't have a cold environment, you can't have a hot environment, you can't have everyone just hiding out.
You gotta have food, but you can't have so much food that people, like you say, can establish societies. And now it's like, oh, you live over there, over there. No, there has to be. You guys are competing for resources. Like when they had, it was a trap, but when they had the big mound of
cornucopia,
food,
the cornucopia.
Yeah, when they had the big mound of food and weapons and everything like that, and then they had the little setup girl run out there and she just grabbed something. She's hopping all around. Oh yeah, look at me, grab it. And as soon as she shot that bag of apples, and they hit the ground, and it was like boom, 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 boom. It's like, wait, how did that chick jump through all of that?
She saw it, and like you could see little spaces on the ground where it looked like there was a little bit of an indent.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, like they set up like a. But I feel like we're kind of like jumping here and there. Like again, like they don't really discuss how Pan Am is really happens. I believe it goes into detail in the book with like backstory.
Right.
It goes into like the backstory, like in the book, but it doesn't really do that in the movie. It's just like what's left over.
You gotta excuse that sweet mama on the streets.
That's right. Sorry, we're recording. Yeah, I believe it goes into the book, but yeah, Pan Am is just like post-apocalyptic North America, I guess, because it's like, again, they don't explain it in the movie, but if I feel like they
took away from the pace.
Yeah, probably would have taken away from the pace, but we learned that our main protagonist, Katniss Everdeen, or it's Everdeen or Evergreen, I can't remember which one. I know it's one of the two.
I do have a question though.
Yeah.
The Woody Harrelson character, the one guy
the one person who survived from
how was he so clicked in with them that he could go to like the main bosses and be like, nah, yeah, if we could put it up as a love story,
maybe he's trying to get them both to survive. Because
how's he able? He was looked at as like this drunken like dude that is like, yeah, he made it through, but he shouldn't have made it through.
Yeah, like he's drunk, and maybe he just like over the years of seeing like many people die over. You know, but maybe he's just
saying is, how does he have the cachet to even go talk to them?
Like he's still a victor, so he's still like technically
like a champion.
He's like still technically like up there. It's like if you had like a former boxing pro who's like he can still go talk to like the top pros. Like, all right, here.
Yeah, Buster Douglas did beat Mike Tyson. Nobody cares about Buster Douglas, but he did beat Mike Tyson.
But yeah. So that's how Heyman's can kind of like to still go talk to their heroes. Like, all right, look, just kind of do this. It might work, it might not. Hey, might boost your ratings. If they die, they die. It makes you one of the most.
I feel like he was looking out for him too.
Oh yeah, he definitely was.
You know what I mean? Like he's like out of probably all the people that he's seen come after him, he probably thought that maybe those two. I mean, I felt like the dude. What was his name?
The guy who's
Peter?
PETA.
PETA. Okay, PETA.
Not the organization.
Right. I feel like he was like an Achilles heel, or not Achilles heel. He was like a ball and chain is like he slowed her down. It's like she always had to double back to save him in some form or another.
Well,
like, okay, he helped her get on top of the cornucopia at the end, but she had to reach in, and the dogs was, or whatever those was trying to do him. She had to hurry up and pull him up. And
well, not all. It wasn't.
How much she cared about it.
It's different from in the book, because in the book they also add more stuff, because later on when they're actually in the Hunger Games, because we're just kind of like jumping all around here. In the Hunger Games, when he deliberately teams up with the careers to mislead them, and then he was going to help her get down and get away, or he was going to kill them in the sleep.
There was a lot of deception in the movie on both sides. Like I
felt
like there was one thing in particular, like the whole what kind of kiss was that? I felt like that was one of the things. Like she felt like these are things we have to do to survive. And it's just like you can see that leads back to what I was talking about initially. That's why I was setting the tone on that. It's like it's like there's a lot of things in society we do today in order to survive. Be it working jobs you hate and being nice to a boss that you absolutely loathe. Yeah. But I know in order to keep my job and survive and help feed my family, I'm gonna go through this and I'm gonna smile at this person. I'm like, hey, Chip, how did you see the game last night? And in your mind, like, I can't stand Chip. But like her with the giving the kiss, it was like, okay.
Like in the book, it's clearly it's kind of established that she herself is not completely sure. And I would go into it further, but that would also require me spoiling future books.
But
and
he said, you gotta keep these sponsors on your side. So she had to give dude this extra little kiss, because if she gets cut off from medicine and food and resources,
maybe he's Hamish in the movie was like, what kind of kiss was that? He's like, I think in the book she's like, she's never kissed anyone. Right. Like she's like 16, she's out here focusing on hunting, trying to provide for her family because her father died in a mining explosion in District 12. That's why it's just her mother, and her sister, and her friend since like childhood, Gabe, just kind of going out of like the perimeter to go hunt food. Whereas like the peacekeeper there are like, we technically are not allowed to do this, but since we live here too, there's not a whole lot of food, but we'll allow it.
I'll tell you one thing that also, it was fantasy, but it was something that I wish there was more of, not in the physical form of altercations and fighting, but it was like, okay, when her little friend got killed, and then when later on in the movie when she was fighting the girl and the girl had the knife to her neck, and then old boy came out of nowhere and just grabbed her by the throat and was like, yo, you know what I'm saying? You killed my peoples, you know what I'm saying? He was like, man, and then he was like, yeah, just for now and just for that. And he was like, I'm out. And I was like, yes, that's what I'm talking about. Yes. You know what I'm saying? It was like, finally, just real quick, let me get on my soapbox and I'm going to jump off of it. Like the Star Wars movie where they had to do that was finally the first Black Jedi, but he was bumbling and said, oh, man. It was like,
I'll let you finish.
This was like the first time like there was like a black male character. Because they have like on The Walking Dead, they have like but it was like he came in and he was like, you know, he stood up like, nah, that's enough. You killed the kid, you know, and boom, got out. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, that's the first time that I have. For me, I don't watch a lot of these types of movies. First time I've seen in a movie where it was like a black man came in and was solid. Right. It wasn't just, oh my God, Jesus, Lord Jesus, they trying to kill me, Lord. Take off running and everything. Like,
okay,
Jesus,
so,
can't be a weenie in every movie.
Okay, real quick correction. They did have a black one. It was Mace Windu, who was played by Samuel L. Jackson. So, like you have seen.
I'm talking about like where he's the star supposedly of the movie. Like,
blame China for that one.
Yeah, this dude was like supposedly the star, and then the whole time he hiding. He was a janitor. Oh Jesus, Lord! Oh, like, oh come on, man. You a Jedi? You got the lifesaver.
He wasn't. He was going to be, but China supposedly kind of like that because China. So that's what happened.
Like, what is this?
Probably, but getting back to the story, like with Katniss, everything, she after she goes out hunting with Gabe, they're like kind of like just talking like maybe we should just not watch. Like yeah, that's not gonna happen. And they got to share a tender moment. Like it's kind of established that District 12, basically Districts 6 and onward in terms of numbers, they are not very rich like at all.
Right.
And like it's established like the further you get away from the capital, the more poor your area is. I think that was supposed to be after they all tried to rebel against the capital. That's why the further you get away, the more poor it got. And that's why District 13 is gone. It's like, oh, they explained the movie like, oh yeah, District 13, even though everyone did all the things, District 13 was probably the worst because I believe they're ones they were focusing on like nuclear power and all that. Which makes weird sense. Like, why would you have both nuclear power and coal? But then maybe say coal's a backup plan or coal's primary.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
It's like, why do we still use like automobile fuel?
When we could use electric cars.
Yeah, could have been doing that.
Oh, it's because they want money.
They have vans that run off of what's that? Propane. Natural gas, odorless, all that doesn't harm the atmosphere so far as we know. But that's neither here nor there. Continue.
Going back to like they established that they don't have a lot of food because like they said, she says like when Gabe gives her like bread, just like the generic loaf of bread, it's like, oh my god, is that real? It's like, oh yeah, it's like cost me a squirrel. Like wow, they do not have a lot of food there. Even like something as small as if it's something as small as a squirrel, which probably won't keep you full for like a day. Whereas where it's a full loaf of bread, like maybe they probably don't get a lot of meat. It's probably just all like probably carbs and vegetables and plants.
I do have a question though. How did PETA get clicked in with the people from District 1 through 6? And it was when they had the entrance. And it was clearly he was with District 12.
Yeah, well, the careers are Districts 1 and 2, like the ones that basically train themselves up.
Right. How did he get clicked in?
He basically, when we're jumping further ahead, when they were in the like the training center for like 3 days, Cat basically he was trying to do other skills not to show off how strong he was because he's like a flower boy for his parents like baking shop. He's like, don't show off like. Haymitch was like, don't show off how strong you are. Don't show off your strength.
Tip him off.
And Cat's like, they're like, oh no, they're like, because he was like, he's fighting off like, yeah, this guy can't do nothing. He's like, no, we can't do it. Like, no, he's like, do it, I don't care. He's like, all right. So he takes like the heaviest ball, which I'm pretty sure is solid, like a solid, like big old, like it's like if you took like a medieval mace and just like. And he throws it over his head. He throws it far enough to where he can like basically reach the other side of the room. And they're like, whoa, how strong is this guy? Because this guy's just tossing flour all day. We've been training our lives. They probably can't take PETA in a straight up fist fight. Because I think he gets like, it's like if you put someone who is in the lightweight division of boxing versus someone who is a heavyweight champion. It's like, they might can outmaneuver
a little more.
Yeah, they might be able to outmaneuver him, but
he lands one.
It's like, oh god.
Yeah.
But yeah, jumping back forward or jumping back to it again, it's like, and you get little flashbacks here and there of like PETA just kind of like looking at Candace, who looks like she's on the verge of death in the flashback, and he gives her a piece of food. It's like, here.
Right.
And by the way, PETA's mom's kind of a horrible mom. Granted, though, this is like post-apocalypse area, and a whole lot
happens too in impoverished environments. The parental experience is not always as pleasurable when you, let's say, somebody who has resources, because the parents are frustrated and stressed out because they're trying to provide, but they're limited in their reach as far as their ability to make money. So it's like a lot of times you will get parents that come home that are frustrated and they talk reckless and they treat their kids like trash because they've been treated like trash in society, being from District 12, and hurt people.
Yeah, like, I believe you can't even move forward in the districts. It basically is like, I gave you a step here, it sucks to be you.
It's like, that's why I said it's a lot like society.
It's like even Districts 1 and 2 is like they can't move into the capital and they're still subject to the Hunger Games. But moving forward again, Katniss goes to like, I guess like the farmer's market, or if I wanted, what was the place we used to go to? The one that's housed here, we went to there in Santa Maria once. What was it called? Swap meet. No, Swap meet. It looks like a flea market, whatever you want to call it, and she picks out the little Mockingjay pin, which they explain what it is later. The Mockingjay pin, they take that, and then it goes for, like, basically they're preparing for the reaping, which is basically the selection process for the Hunger Games. The more, and they explain real quick while they're outside, like, if the more times you put your name in there, basically, like, the more care packages you receive throughout the year. So say if you got, like, 2,000 kids thrown in there, and you put your name in 50 times. The more times you put your name in, the more times you receive care. It's still not good care overall, but like you still receive it. And so they're like, okay, we can do this.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. They go through the process, and it's her little sister's obviously terrified of like this is my first year. Like, what if I get picked and all that? It's like, hey, calm down. It'll be fine. I put my name in more times, like, you'll be good. And then, like, 10 minutes later, it's like, oh, wait, she gets called, like, oh, crap. And then we get, like, the whole thing of, like the whole meme. Well, I'd say meme, but, like, everything. Everyone's like, I volunteer, tribute.
I'll tell you what. Did you notice? I'm just going to put it out there like this. When they was watching the people in the rooms and everything, there was a certain demographic that was in the rooms that was watching that had the suits on and the hats and the hair and everything like that. But when, what's her name? This is a weird name to pronounce.
I forgot her name.
The girl with the bow and arrows. What's her?
Katniss.
Katniss, okay. When she threw up the 3 fingers and was like, District 11. You know what I'm saying? And everyone's like, yeah. Did you notice what those people look like?
Everyone. I saw, like,
there was a lot of brown people in that group compared to those in the room.
That was District 11 that had a lot more people that were black or people of color. You say District 11 specifically probably had a lot more because we don't see enough of the other districts. Other than, like, we see District 11 riot after Rue dies. Because they say, oh, it was like a sweet little girl who's thrown in there and someone who basically...
She just got picked.
Yeah, she just got picked, and everyone's like, what? And you can probably assume it was her father that really got picked. Like, more likely than not, someone's gonna get. Which I'm actually kind of surprised that hasn't happened enough times in the 73 years. Like, people are like, you know what, yes, I've had enough.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You see, in the poor communities, it got a lot more brown. I'm just saying that. That's why it was easier for me to slide into this movie a little bit more because, like I said, although it was like fantasy or sci-fi, however you want to label it, it did have a relativity to it that made it digestible because it's like, well, yeah, y'all putting it in a fantasy kind of setting, but there's a lot of this that is relative to real life. Yeah. People having the resources and people being trained literally. Like, say you just want to say instead of the Hunger Games, you could say going into society, college, and all of that. Some people are literally trained from the time they're born. You're going to go to college, you're going to work here, you're going to become this, and you're going to become that. And that's all they know, and they get pushed in there. And then when they get there, and they be like, this is all I know, and I never really had a choice in what I wanted to be. And you have other people who don't have that reach, who don't have that resources, and it's just like, if you do get picked, and if you happen to be the one that slips through the crack, you're on an island once you get there, basically. You know what I'm saying? It's like it was very deep psychologically watching this movie, and it kept my attention.
Again, we're not entirely sure if it was intentional. Maybe it was just casting.
Absolutely.
You are. I
went to school for this. I can tell.
It doesn't like they said. It isn't explained in the book. It just says like District 11 riots after Rue dies.
Whoever did the movie, whoever put this movie together, certain things were very intentional. Because think about this. You and I are from 2 different generations, but yet we both literally gave it the same score.
Yeah.
That right there takes talent to be able to bridge the gap over a movie that came from a book where they had to chop out pieces like this. They'd be like, otherwise this movies can be 8 hours long. And it's still long for a movie. What was it, like 2.5 hours?
Close, yeah.
So for them to trim the fat, hold somebody's attention, make it relative to 2 different generations. Actually, 6 was watching it until he decided to go with Scooter, because I think it did get a little too intellectually deep. for him.
Or maybe he just like he was bored because he's a kid. Like he's just not getting holding his attention.
Right. But it definitely, if for us to both give it the same score, it had to have had some of the. They had to have a team.
Like they had to have someone who like like all right, we had to have someone who's like all right, what can we have for kids or more specifically teens because like kids like 6 like he's like it's okay. Like,
Yeah.
or like me myself like young and old and my dad like 2 different generations again.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to this, after the reaping process and PETA is chosen, we get introduced to Haymitch, or who is he played by?
He played Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson, and he's the only other person in District 12 who has won in the past 73 years. So that's saying something like he does mention people from Districts 1 and 2 win more often than not.
And he suffers from PTSD.
More likely than not, and alcoholism, which is probably caused by the PTSD.
Yeah.
Because like
all the
again,
killing he's
because
seen,
like remember like
probably had to do.
yeah, because like remember they throw people like 6 who's like I'm assuming they're 11, 12, 13. And they throw them into this setting where they had to kill people who are around their age and older than them. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh yeah, go kill each other. And, like,
and we'll watch.
And we'll watch for our amusement. Now, Districts 1 and 2, they also probably watch for amusement, but I'm assuming like their parents in there, like, oh, they like if their kid dies, like they're probably distraught over it. But it's like more often than like, yeah, we'll win. Because like they say, we volunteer, we train our kids from like as soon as they can be able to walk and say like, all right, here's what you need to do and all that. But he was like, look. More likely than not, you're gonna die, and probably know that I can't help you all that much. But I guess Pete's like, all right, look, my mom said, this is explaining like, look, my mom said District 12 is probably gonna have a winner, but he also found out she wasn't talking about me. I'm like, wow, you're a crappy mom. But I'm like, all right, he's at least showing genuine enthusiasm. Like, I want to. Like, he's like, yeah. he's at least Peter's at least like, hey, I want to learn how to live, and he's like, look. I can't really help you. So he's like, give me like Joey's like, give me a day or something like to get rid of it. So, like the day goes by and Katniss is kind of there because she has like a lot of inner monologue, so it makes it look like she doesn't have a lot of speaking lines. And that's why some of the lines are kind of like kind of explaining what off screen they're trying to do. Like with the tracker jacker, she knows what it is.
Right.
But they have like the TV's like commentators like they're basically voicing her thoughts. So with the movie, it's like people are kind of like explaining her thoughts without her having to do the inner monologue because it would be slow. It'd be weird writing and pacing.
Right.
So we get through that, and she gets understandably aggravated at Haymitch, and he's like, "Look, I'm trying to wake up." And she stabs the table. It's like, "Oh wow, you murdered a table."
Yeah. He's like, "You have to kill somebody for real."
He's like, and he says it's not like, he's like, "How do you get people to help you?" He's like, and he gets ready to say, "You get people to like you." Like, oh, not what you were expecting. He's like, I like that. It's like, you have to be like a TV personality for this thing to work.
Get the sponsors and all that.
Yeah, and then we obviously go through the reaping process and all that. Or not the reaping process, but they're bringing forth the tributes to the Capitol. Yeah, Districts 1 through 12, and then 12.
How they labeled certain scenarios too, I thought was interesting. I didn't really fully catch why. Like they called them tributes, or this was the reaping process. It's like you reap what you sow. That, I mean, but that's where people, that word people usually attach it to is reap what you sow. Like you're raised kind of like a fruit tree. You're raised to be reaped, to be plucked from this environment, to be put into this.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, they kind of go through the process, and they're like in this training facility for like the next few days trying to establish skill. And on the final day of that, they basically had to prove themselves to the head honchos, like the game creators or something like. I forget what they're called in the book. They're like the game like overlords, if you want to call them something. They're like, we had to show off our skill. And they say, go for a bow, basically show off your best skill. And PETA basically just shows off how strong he is. He gets a score of 8, which is like, oh, that's actually not bad.
Right.
But since Katniss actually misses her first shot, and these people have been here all day, so maybe they're bored and tired.
Right.
So it's like she misses her first shot, but next shot she hits the dummy like right in the heart, but she also notices that they're not paying attention. And then they're like, oh yeah, like Yara John's like, all right, we're almost done, we're out of here. And then she takes the next shot because she's understandably pissed, like they're not paying attention to me. And she shoots an apple out of the roast mouth from all the way down there. Everyone just shuts up and they're like,
Good. Thank you for your consideration.
it's funny, but obviously like the sponsor lady, whose name I forget because I believe she has like a smaller team of like people in the book.
Well, that
but
right there too goes into how like society does people of talent. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you're talented, yeah, whatever. Then when you catch their attention, it's like, oh, we can use this.
well,
You know what I mean?
like not in the same way.
She's not the only one. They got people over there who've been training. They got the lady.
Like, and even though like
She
the
shot
president,
an apple.
yeah, like President Snow, later in the movie, is like, he was, like a little bit later, he's like scoring of 11. He's like, well, she earned it. He's like, she shot an arrow at your head. Like, well, near my head. He's like, well, I don't know, near your head. It's basically like, if she was off just by a little bit, you would have been dead. And he's basically telling him like, look, the reason why we just don't go up and pick 24 people at random to go out, capital, execute them all at once, basically as penance, is like we need to give them hope, because a little bit of hope is okay. A lot of hope is dangerous.
It is.
And he's basically telling him like, look, the reason why we don't let them do this is because if they get a bit too big for their britches, in a sense, something's going to happen. We're all going to be in trouble, so contain it.
It's just like they have the in the art of war. It says that you always give your victim a way out. And the reason why they say that is, like, I'm making it correlate with the whole analogy of hope.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you corner a victim, they're more dangerous because they see no way out. And their level
fight or
of-
flight.
Their fight or flight level goes through the roof. But if they feel like they have a way out, more or less, they'll search for the way out than trying to get at you. And that's why he was saying with the hope, yeah, it's cool. He was like, yeah, they want a little hope. But if they actually feel they can win and that they can do damage and that all this is a sham, they could actually do something at the end where they was like, you know what, we don't have to pick one. We could just kill ourselves right now eating these berries. And they was like, hey, wait, whoa.
Yeah, basically, that's why President Snow is like, all right, you caved in. And he's like, here. And they lock the door with.
Now you gotta eat the berries.
And I'm like, it's like, yeah, it's like, and you guys are like, the dude's the antagonist of the movie, but he's just doing his job in a sense. This is just my job. He probably doesn't enjoy doing
Look,
this.
nobody likes the facilitator of the work.
Well, maybe they do. Like, some people are like, some people have like that face. Some people obviously look, oh, like, I've been doing this for years, I'm desensitized. Some people look, maybe they wanted to work here.
Yeah.
Like, maybe because it pays the most. I don't know.
Yeah.
But going through the movie, like, they get a score 11, and then they go off into the games. And they technically break the rules because she's not allowed to bring something like sharp, because a pin is sharp. You could kill someone with a pin. And they bring them up to the cornucopia, like to the platforms, and they have the big countdown. Everyone's watching it.
Is that why when Lenny Kravitz was fixing everything and he seen the pin, he was like, oh.
He's like, he put the pin in.
Yeah.
He's like, shh.
Kind of like, yeah, you might be able to use this later on.
Probably not exactly. It's just, I think he says it's just for good luck. He's just like, you can't bring anything up there because you can't have an unnecessary. It's unfair in a sense. It's like someone brought, like, say someone brings, like, let's say, like a tiny little paper gun, but someone brings a giant old steak knife. No, this is my good luck charm right here. This is my hunting knife.
Yeah, but a nice little pin, if you get in a situation where somebody got you all yoked up by your shirt and you're close and you can just go.
Yeah, I know. That's like the whole point. Like, you can't bring something like that. If she did, she probably would have been disqualified.
Kind of like on Men in Black where he had the little gun.
Like, oh,
the mosquito, or what was it?
The cricket?
I think it was the cricket,
Yeah. But, afterwards, like, they say don't go to the cornucopia because it's going to be a bloodbath. And guess what? All the kids basically go right to the cornucopia with the exception of, like, a few. Like, in the book, the girl who's, like, from District 4, they call her Fox. I think Katniss gives her the nickname Foxface. And then she runs off, Katniss runs off, and Peeta just, like, they say don't go there. And then, like, pretty much afterwards, we see just, like, the bloodbath of kids. Let's face it, they are kids. It's like, in the cornucopia, like, oh yeah, they're dead. Like, dead.
Kind of reminds me of, like, the first episode of each season of American Idol. It's like, it's just a disaster. It's like, later on, you start seeing, in the show, you start seeing the real talented ones. But in the first episode, it's just just carnage. You know what I'm saying? To speak as a metaphor, but it's carnage, and that's what happened right there. It's like everybody ran there, grabbed knives, grabbed spears, grabbed this, and just went at each other armed, and you just see them stabbing. It was just like a gang fight, like right there on the spot, and everybody was like, yo, this is why they said don't go there.
Yeah, and Katniss pretty much follows Haymitch's advice 1-to-1. I know we're kind of like jumping
As
off.
they should. Well, it's supposed to. This is like a
They do,
review following morning. You know what I mean? It's gonna be all over the place.
Well, we're falling over the place. We're like skipping over like a few details, like how Rue stole Kato's knife and how he was very hostile towards like the one who's like, hey, you stole my knife. He's like, yeah. And you just Katniss is the only one who sees Rue up in the like the little climbing area, like just holding the knife, just kind of like smiling, like she messed with him. Mm-hmm. And then we also learned that Peeta was a very good cake decorator because he could make his arm look like tree bark. Like, dang, what cakes they were good. And these are like obviously like little details. We're kind
and
of
his
like
face too.
Yeah, like this is the details that we're going over. But like Katniss is doing what Haymitch was like: survive, stay away from everyone, find water.
Is that how she had like the leaves on her arm and everything? She was able to lay up against the tree after she had got stung by the those bees.
The tracker jackers later on, but I think she was just like she was basically out of it for a couple of days.
Yeah, because when she woke up, she had like the when she was laying up against the tree.
I think it was a like quote unquote cure. I'm not sure because maybe Rue was like, oh yeah, these are like natural herbs that can help like deal with it, or like deal with like aggravation and all that. We don't know. Because I think it is explained in the book, but it's not explained in the movie.
She moved around and the leaves never fell off.
Yeah.
It was almost like they were like, decorations.
Like either decorations or they were like
camouflage or whatever.
Maybe. But, and then like we noticed that the game makers are like, hold on. She's just going away from everyone. The nearest person to her was 2 kilometers away. Which was like almost 4 miles?
Mm-hmm. She tried to do the whole stay away from people and
they just waited out.
Yeah, and they was like, that's not how this works.
That's not how this works. And they, on command, make like a literal firewall. Mm-hmm. And like they're like
force her to run back towards the action.
And then she gets skinned here and there. And she actually had like.
Remember we was watching it yesterday. That was the first time, and I was like, "Yo, they controlling all of this." And you're like, "Yeah, that's the whole point." And I was like, and then that is where, because at first I was kind of like, all right, what we doing here? What we doing? All right, yeah, okay, whatever. And then right there, I was like, at that point, I was locked in. It was a go for me. I was like, I'm invested now. Yeah, completely.
Yeah, that's like the whole point. Like the game makers are in complete control of this. There's nothing basically in there except for like the child killing.
Yeah, like when she got with the little panther dogs or whatever they were, and like they had got past the first one. And dude was like, yeah, throw some more of them things. And I'm like, now wait a minute, man. Y'all keep moving the goal line further and further back.
Yeah, like they changed.
It's 2 people. No, it's 1 person. Oh, throw one of them dogs in there. All right, throw a whole pack of them in there.
And we're going through this, and like she obviously tries to drive, and the careers show up, and it's like, oh crap, Peeta's with them. And then it finds out later, technically, like Peeta explains to her, like, I was only working with them so I could get him away from you.
Mm-hmm. Decoy.
Like basically a decoy. He's like, I was gonna probably like kill like 2 or 3 women in the sleep. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, okay. Like she was like, obviously, it's like a little distrusting of it because this is like later when they're off by themselves.
And it shows that he's a little bit smarter than they let on because at first he was a cake decorating strong guy, kind of like a meathead. And she was the smart one that they were like, no, she's going to be the one that survived. But he actually was like, kind of like playing possum, as they say. Got in with him.
Yeah, and then like later in the day, they're basically like, it's like, we're going to outweigh her. He's like, and that's what he's like, I'm just trying to kill. She uses her little machine. She's notified by Rue, like, hey, Tracker Jack is like, oh yeah, the things that are super aggressive and will sting you a crap ton of times and can kill you.
She even took a couple shots, too.
Oh yeah, she took more than a couple. She got stung while cutting it down. She kills off, I believe, 2 of the careers, but I believe Peeta gets away. And he goes like what the hell are you still doing here? He not realizing she's like basically high off her mind. like literal Batman on drugs. Well, not literal, like
she's like, I'm a pony.
But she gets away. Rue saves her. They devise a plan. Like
Rue's is a little black girl, right?
Like, all right, since you're good with the arrow, I'll go basically create a diversion with like the smoke and stuff, and you will go shoot up and blow off their supplies. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, like when they see like Fox face come back, like, oh, there has to be landmines. That's why she's not just running up and going.
Are you talking about Foxface? Is the one I said that was
no,
always setting people up.
You think she was setting people up? She really wasn't. She was just like, she was like that survival expert who knows everything except how to fight.
Yeah. It's like on a video game, like they have certain attributes.
It's like she
like
put all her points into stealth,
speed and
stealth.
Yeah.
But
no power, no fighting attributes.
Yeah, and that's how she dies later. But Katniss basically blows up their entire supply with the landmines that they have around it. And from that point onwards, I believe she's deaf in one ear in the book, and she actually has like a hearing aid in that ear.
Yeah, all that explosion at one point right there for the impact.
And, yeah, the careers come back. The dude who was on one is like, "Hey, what the you do?" And then she snaps the dude's neck.
Yeah,
and
like, how'd you let him blow up all the supply?
Yeah, and then she goes away and she finds Rue. Like, oh, she got trapped. She saves her, and then the dude, one of the dudes just comes up. Probably like one of the careers comes out. Like you get like the slow movie death where it's like they pull the spear out. It's like it's at that point like I'm sick of like the slow movie death because it happens in almost every movie where you kill someone.
In the slow music,
like the slow music, death. Or like they look down and like oh
yeah,
and like they
start shot.
Like they do that. They did that.
That happened in the movie we was watching yesterday.
Yeah, they did
River
that.
Runs Red.
Yeah, they do that in was it the Maze Runner.
They always get shot and then they look down and they drop their weapon and hits the ground and then they fall down to their knees and like
yeah. Yeah, they do that a lot, and then like she sets off like a funeral for her.
Yeah.
And then like we get the whole thing with District 11 rioting, and we don't see if any other districts are probably doing it. They probably did, but it's just like District 11 because we spent more time with Rue. And then she finds Peeta basically after he's been like betrayed by the careers. Like, all right, they work together, and like they're basically trying to survive together, like the star-crossed lovers.
Trust is like a premium in this movie too.
Yeah, Katniss at first like doesn't basically trust anyone except for her family, Gabe, and Haymitch slightly because Haymitch is like a drunk who's like, I know what I'm. It's like, she says that, but like, Peeta like does something. Haymitch is like, oh, she's like, he has his drink like all the way back here. He has his foot all the way on Peeta's chest. Like, you made me spill my drink on these brand new pants.
Yeah.
He's like, she like grows to trust him near the end, even though Haymitch is just like, look, I'm a drunk. I know what I'm talking about, but I'm drunk most of the time. You're probably gonna die. And that's why like with the sponsors like he tries like, look, I like these kids a bit more than I like everyone else I've talked to.
In all these years, yeah. These
so let's try to get
the potential.
Yeah, he's like, maybe they'll live. And not probably knowing what he knows going forward. But
I wish there's a term that they use that not in the movie that it just came to my mind. And I almost wish that he was a little bit more of this. For y'all that don't know, Google it. I wish he was a little bit more surly. I wish he was just a little bit, just a little bit longer, like so that we as the audience can see that they have convinced him. Because that's one thing. Like I said,
like he was like a bit more like
he's like, man, y'all gonna go in here and die, man. Leave me alone. Let me get my drink on. And he kind of like, in my opinion, he gravitated it to him just a little quicker than I would have liked.
Yeah, and maybe you can probably say that's most in part due to Peeta. Like he was like, look, I want to survive. If I don't survive, I want to make her survive.
Right.
And he's like, all right.
Yeah.
You could probably assume that happened off screen if you like read the books or if you read into it.
I wanted him to be just a little bit more hesitant about, because like he's the only one that survived, so he does have the knowledge on how this works.
Yeah.
Or how it worked for him, and he was like, I kind of wish they had been like, why am I going to teach you the game? You're just going to go in there and get your dumb self killed, and it'll be a waste of time, and I could have just been in the room chilling, having my drinks. But he kind of like, like you said, when Peeta kind of got at him, he was just like, all right, this is what you need to do. You need sponsors. You're not going to make it through without sponsors. Be a little bit more, the more personable and the more of a personality you are, the more likely they are to hook you up. Once you establish that, you gotta be smart. You know what I'm saying? I wish he had to just be like, man, you know how many of you little young punks I done seen come through here and get their dumb self killed? I'm not wasting my time. Matter of fact, go get me a sandwich. I'm a champion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like a little bit. And then we obviously get like the whole thing of like them like, look, I like do like we're skipping over a lot, obviously, like the TV thing.
It's 2.5 hour movie. It's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot to go through. Like, and the whole personality, like, I really did like you. Like, when they showed off in, like, the TV special where it's like, where the dude asked him, like, hey, do you have a special go back on? He's like, nah, because she came here with me. And they're like, oh.
Oh.
And then they try to hold star-crossed lovers. Yeah. And Benjamin's like, look.
And they didn't overdo it with that either.
Like, the whole, no. Remember, this is technically like the apocalypse, and people are supposed to kill each other.
Yeah.
They're not overselling the
let's have a love interest, like they're gonna crowbar it in there, like they gotta fall in love. It's like, they touched on it. It's like
it is tended to kind of like forced because like she's not sure if she really likes it. It's like, do I like him or am I just trying to survive? And he's like, whatever, or like both. And it's like, all right, they try to survive. It's like, and Heyman's like, look, if you get the sponsors. Or if you change the rules and you can make it more tragic if they both die or if they both win, your ratings go up. Either way, it's a win-win. Not knowing the present, so like, don't let them get too much hope. And the game maker's like, I want ratings. I don't want them to die too quickly. But he's like, all right, we'll do it. And it's like, all right, look, everyone's gonna get basically what they need, all that. Everyone should.
Colin Kaepernick. It's like, okay, we enjoy the rain, but we need the fans to come, but we don't want them doing that because you're gonna mess up the money. You're gonna mess it all up.
It's like this weird, weird juggling act that he has to do.
Yeah.
And then they go in. It's like, all right. And then you get one of the careers. It's like, oh yeah, hey, we killed that little girl. And dude comes up and is like, wait, what the hell did you say?
Yeah.
And then like basically snaps her neck. It's like, all right, that's it. Only this time because you helped her. Because I'm assuming pretty much everyone knew. Yeah. That like she held the funeral for him, or maybe he was just off in the background. Like,
well, that was the one thing too.
Like the whole funeral.
Somebody said like, "Oh, you and Loverboy."
Yeah.
Well, who was the one?
Peta. It was the girl who said like you and Loverboy.
Yeah.
Like,
how did she know? Because they
said it on national TV basically. Like, oh yeah, like.
Well, how did they see the national TV?
Like that, like no, when they were doing the national TV show before they went into the games. Oh, it was like I came here with the girl. I was like, oh.
Okay, because that right there, I was like, yo, are they clicked in with the other people?
Like are they cheating? Like,
right, that's what I thought right now.
I'm like, oh, that would actually been much more interesting. Like, Districts 1, 2, and 3 are basically cheaters, and that's why they win so much.
It's just their opportunity to go kill people with impunity.
Like, or maybe it's like they just want to train their kids. Like, oh, I feel like that would also be like an interesting twist. Yeah, like Districts 1, 2, and 3 are cheaters, and that's why they win so often, and that's why they train their kids so often from birth.
Right.
It's like, all right, we didn't win. We didn't get picked. We basically outlived our but you basically can help us get set for life by winning these. I'm like, oh, that would have been a nice little twist, thinking it now. But I'm like, hey, I'm fine with the story as is.
I am too.
It was like, maybe if they added a little twist in, like, oh, that would have been better.
That would have been like mind blown, like
oh, like, that's why they win so often.
Yeah, it's like, so the game is rigged.
Like, maybe. But afterwards, like, after he kills her, they go get back, like, the magic healing cream ointment. And, like,
overnight cream.
Basically, and, like, he rubs on his skin. Like, they sleep, like, holy crap, like, my thing is, like, all healed up and all that. Basically, they find out, like, all right, there's only, like, 4 of these people left. We got to hurry this stuff up. Mm-hmm. So they do that.
It's
and
dragging.
Like they basically they're basically kind of traveling like, all right, it's time to hurry up. They dim the lights, and then they release like the Panther Dogs, which is much more horrifying in the book, because in the book, all the people they release, they are basically genetic abominations that have the faces of everyone who has died in the Hunger Games on it, including Rue, and Katniss is basically like traumatized, like. This little girl that I helped save.
So Rue turns into her face.
Well, they took her corpse and basically like modified the body and all that, and put her face on one of the dogs. I'm like, oh my god, it's worse than the. Yeah, like towards games, like dude gets killed off by them because I'm assuming they probably sent like 2 or 3 after him because he was like big old like someone who was critiquing the book who's like does parodies like. Oh, why did they, like, you could give them true, like, kill off Katniss and Peta, make it like a tragedy, like, oh, they were going to survive together, but they couldn't. You know what? But have, like, you have your big old beef fight between the dude from District 11, whose name I don't know.
I think that would be another interesting plot twist. Well, not a plot twist.
Like,
I would have liked to hear, what's the dude at the end?
Kato, the dude who's, like, he's like, I trained my whole life for this, and, like, it was for
I
nothing.
wish he had been more angry. been like talking to if almost like he was talking to the screen because he knows.
I trained my whole life for this.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And he's like,
For what?
For what? You know what I mean? Like, and then kind of that's when he.
And like he's just, I can't remember if he was screaming it at the sky in the book. He probably was. He probably wasn't. Or maybe he remembered the was like, maybe I was.
Because remember I told you, I said I don't like when the characters tell the story. It's like because it's insulting the intelligence of the viewer.
Oh yeah, like.
But I think this is the one time where he could have been like, ever since I was a kid, you know what I'm saying? I wanted to play, I wanted to do this, but like, no, this is what you're gonna do. And y'all, this whole time, y'all set me up to die.
Yeah.
Or kill everybody. What kind of life am I supposed to have? You know what I mean? I wish he could have they just. And then everybody's like, yo, guys is tripping out.
Some people from the lower, pretty much everyone from the district is like, probably would have that moment. People from the capital like, it's another Tuesday. I remember a kid from 51st one. Oh yeah, he did the same thing. Yeah. That was a good year.
Yeah, remember when he swiped the girl's neck like a credit card? Wow, it almost came off like a Pez dispenser. Yeah, they probably, you're right.
People in the capital probably used to that. People from like the first districts, maybe they had that crisis, but they like got over it. Like we say got over it, but like not really.
Because he tried. He was just like,
he's like, you know what? Like, he's like, I don't care anymore. He's like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Like I just want to, like I want this to be over. He says, and she shot him in the hand. Katniss, like they're kind of like having this back and forth. Mm-hmm. If I remember the book, it's primarily just him and Peeta going at it because Peeta was like the strong one. Katniss, while good with the bow, like she's not like super fit. Like, well, she's athletic, not like swole.
Right.
Like, I'm pretty sure in the book, like it was just him and like he gets him in the neck and it's like she shoots him in the hand. I'm like, oh, is that gonna go through? And it's gonna get like Peeta like right here, like stab him like.
Could have, and would have had another slow die moment.
Or like, or maybe he would pull off like that. I was like,
pulls it up.
He pulls it out. He's like, and then he like he pushes him off. He's like, this hurts.
Yeah, and then he starts leaking, and he's like, and he falls down to his knees.
Like nah. Well, it was on his hand, and it most like with the hand and where it was placed, it would probably be like his upper shoulder. Yeah. Like it would still hurt. And in the books, they push him off. The books, it's like worse for the death for Cato, because like he gets ripped apart, and she has no arrow, so they have to listen to him being ripped apart all night. Whereas in the movie, they gave him like a mercy killing. Like it's like
the dogs walk off, and
like
the cannon.
And it's like the cannon, like which does sound off every time they die. And so we reached the end of this.
That was pretty cool too.
Yeah, and it's like, all right, we're
shows up on the screen in the sky.
And it's like, all right, here we're gonna change the rules a bit. It's like, what? Like, all right, no, we're not gonna give you a victory. I'm like, all right, hold on.
Stuff like that happens in society all the time. It's like, okay, we think we're playing by one set of rules in society, and then something happens, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna switch this up a little bit. Be like, no, wait, whoa, hey, how come you allow this over here and don't allow this over there? But I liked it.
Yeah, I did like it overall. They come back, and you could probably tell that President Snow's like, she is going to be a problem, and he just like walks off. Yeah. And it's like, that's the end of your movie. And like overall, like we said, I enjoyed it. Coming back to it, I feel like knowing what I do now, I feel like it's actually better.
I feel like if I hadn't low-key talked myself out of the first 35 minutes of engaging, because I've said on previous podcasts that it's like, if you don't grab my attention in the first 10, 15 minutes, I'll start to check out.
Yeah.
But I came in low-key wanting to check out, so to speak.
Yeah. And now you're actually excited, like, oh, let's see the sequels and all that.
Exactly. It was like, so now I was like, wait, whoa, what happened? Wait, it's almost like, you know what I feel like? I feel like them old people that was sitting there and the movie shot the dummy in the heart, and I'm like, yeah, okay. And then the apple happens, like, you know, like metaphorically speaking, the apple happens for me, and it's like, oh, wait. Now I'm invested. What are we watching? You know what I'm saying? That happened. I was literally one of them people who had to wait until the apple got shot. Not literally in the movie, but just metaphorically speaking.
And yeah, like overall, I felt like going back through this, it holds up extremely well, even without knowledge from the book. Like with Late Night CJ, like, oh yeah, this movie's good. Like you might have to wait a little bit further to get checked in, like some other people.
They can't just get to jump off the porch and just like, oh, all right, here we are. You have to set the scene.
Yeah, and whether we might watch it back to back with Catching Fire, because we only have one more day on our account to watch it, or I could use a site that can let me watch movies. I'm not telling you what it is though.
Yeah, we can let it breathe.
We can let it breathe. Maybe come back next week. It's like, how does like the month, I guess, of Hunger Games work?
The Hunger Month.
Hunger Month.
I can do the Hunger Month.
And like we'll come back next week and maybe like next Saturday and Sunday we put up and we're like, all right, here's what we think. Here's what happened. Here's what we think. Here's what happens. But
and this will be perfect because you've seen all of them, right?
I've seen all of them. And I've
seen
read a
none of them
majority of
except
books.
for this.
Yeah, I've read a majority of books. I didn't finish Mockingjay all the way because I felt like, personally for me, the last book. I know what happens. I've read most of it. I know what happens. So it's like, if I'm missing out on a few details here and there when we get to Mockingjay.
I tell you right, after Hunger Month, I might just go ahead and read the books. It's like now that I have an understanding and kind of like the blueprint of what's going on, I'm pretty sure the book fills in all the gaps and answers all the questions.
Yeah.
That I have, checks all the boxes.
But with that, after this extremely long, like hour discussion of Hunger
Shorter than the movie.
Shorter than the movie. Yeah, I'm gonna be out there recording like another hour of gameplay, probably unrelated because I don't have a face cam.
Yeah, and
we might think about it.
Yeah, and I gotta rest up today. I gotta get up 3. I gotta be at work at like 3 in the morning. So, yeah.
With that, I'm Omega Zero.
I am Late Night CJ, aka Sweet Daddy, in the streets.
And we'll catch you guys later.